spring, my husband and I got to chaperone my son's senior class trip to Greece and Rome. I've always wanted to go to both of those places, but I had no idea that I would actually get to go this soon. I think one could spend a lifetime in Rome and still be discovering new things to see.
Rome was founded in 753 BC, or so the legend goes, and it reached its zenith in the 1st century. We can thank Rome for so many contributions to how we live today. They contributed to law through the art of war, through their literature, their architecture, their technology, and their art. Here we are at St. Paul's outside the walls. It's known for its beautiful doorways and the fact that the Pope walks through one of these doors once every 25 years. The gilded, coffered ceilings draw your eye upwards, and it's a breathtaking sight. Our guide pointed out the medallions above the colonnaded pillars, and they're paintings of all the popes who have ever lived. Although I'm not a Catholic, I could appreciate the artwork and the different artistic styles, for these paintings have been painted by various different artists over the centuries. The prettiest thing to me was the apse, or the semicircular domed area at the end of the nave, and the paintings of Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John. Origins of this basilica date back to 390 AD, and the reason why it's believed that Paul was buried here is because when they began building it, they found remnants of a cemetery for the poor and the slaves. Something that I was looking forward to seeing were the obelisks. Evidently, Rome has 8 obelisks brought over from various cities, including Heliopolis. If you were wondering about the food, let's just say you need to try the bruschetta. Another favorite was seeing the Trevi Fountain. The day before, climate activists had poured charcoal into the fountain, but when we got there, the only remnants of that were police presence to make sure that nobody did that again. We visited twice, once in the morning and once in the evening, where, to the enjoyment of the crowd, a couple were engaged.
On our trip, since we were chaperoning, I did not bring any art supplies in order to paint while I was there. The art teacher from my son's school also went on the trip, and she had this great idea to have a painting day when we all got back. I asked if I could join, and she said, sure. She asked the students to select one thing that they had found inspirational on the trip and then paint it.
What would I choose to paint? I mean, there was inspiration everywhere we went.
day we were in Rome, we visited the Vatican Museum. The Vatican Museum has, I would say, miles and miles of hallways of artwork. If you're not aware, the Vatican Museum is home to the Sistine Chapel. We were not allowed to take photographs there, but we could take photos in a lot of the other halls and galleries. One of the rooms that I really liked was the Raphael rooms.
One of the first paintings I can remember ever being taught about in school was Raphael's School of Athens. It's famous because he painted math, science, and philosophy all of equal importance. Well, looking up and all around, suddenly I saw what I wanted to paint for the after-trip painting party. On the wall opposite the School of Athens was a beautiful golden-haired maiden. It was in the dome section and curved, so it was a little bit distorted, but I thought, I'm going to try this. Since I don't have any training in portraiture, or in painting for that matter, I decided to go with the grid method. I wasn't sure if I could accurately draw the proportions correct and make this maiden look like the original. Well, you know what? If your painting doesn't turn out exactly like the original, don't worry. We're all learning as we go. Have you been thinking about something that you could paint from your travels? I hope that you've been inspired, and I hope that you're thinking about something and that you'll get your paints out today. And the grand finale of Rome was visiting St. Peter's Basilica. At this point, we lost my son. He went left, we went right. We were in the Sistine Chapel and the crowds were enormous, and so you were kind of like in a river. It moved you one way or the other. Not to worry though. After viewing St. Peter's Basilica, we found him outside in the square. But not before seeing a statue that I never expected to see, the Pieta by Michelangelo. And if you've read From the Mixed Up Files by Mrs. Basilica Frankweiler, you'll understand why. In the evening, we returned to visit the Colosseum, all lit up, looking like a flame at night. It was a wonderful way to end our trip to Rome. After painting day at the school, I decided to work on some color corrections. I'm not really great at mixing skin tones, and I wanted to try to remove some of the redness from my maiden's face. What about you? Have you been thinking about what you're going to paint?
So I have my painting up here now, and I need to create my palette.
I want to ask you, is there any subject matter that scares you, that you're afraid of, that you think you can't do? Well, for me, it's portraits. I've really only done one other portrait that I liked. This one is still not to the point of where I'm comfortable saying that I like it. I need to work on tones. I need to work on hair. There's so many things, but you know what? I had so much fun painting this, and I think that's really what's important. Remind yourself why you paint, why you create art. For me, this painting is just a reflection of the wonderful trip that I had, and it reminds me of those times, as well as my love for the historical time period of the High Renaissance. Another thing that I would like to paint is a map. I was really inspired by the Hall of Maps that leads you into the Sistine Chapel. The colors were this vivid cobalt blue and kind of a muted grass green and some beautiful red colors. I think it would be really fun to create a map of my own using these colors and that Renaissance style. I would like to ask, what holds you back from starting an art project? Does it seem just too overwhelming? If so, I suggest breaking it up into bits and pieces. Perhaps you can start with getting out your supplies and arranging your room. The next thing you could do is to get your canvas and sketch out an outline. Sketch out the bare bones skeleton of what you'll be painting. Maybe you want to add a grid to it in pencil. If you do use pencil, don't forget to spray it with a fixative so that the pencil does not get all messed up whenever you add paint on top. One thing that tends to hold me back is this impromptu-ness of painting. I tend to prefer to treat my painting like a coloring book page. I like to sketch out the detailed line drawing and then fill it in. But with painting, you can't really do that with acrylic or oil. Sure, you can do that with a watercolor painting because you can still see the pencil line. But once you add a top coat to your painting, you can no longer see those detailed line drawings underneath. And this forces me to be a little bit more free and less structured and less detailed. I think that's a good thing. So if that is something that's holding you back, just dive in and go for it.
I believe I've come to a stopping point right now. I know it needs a lot of work, and I found myself really wanting to pick up something like colored pencils and fix the eyes. I could not work as small and detailed as I wanted to. I just want to encourage you, if your painting does not turn out exactly like you want it to, don't worry about it. We're all a work in progress, and we all get better each time that we pick up our paintbrushes. What travels have you been on that you have found something inspirational that you want to paint? I want to encourage you to go find a picture of something that you really liked on one of your trips and get out your paints and make some art today.